We still having difficulty with identity, and I have a grouse with history my teachers taught unwittingly, told me, and I said no, I am not the great-grandson of a slave. I am the great-grandson of a slave who was the son of a king. I have a grouse that it has taken so long to correct history. The middle passage was not the beginning, was not the ending.
Well, as part of our program in promotion and development of creative and performing arts,
a very warm welcome. This is Elombe Speaks. I'm Sherwood McCaskey. Thanks for joining us. With such an outpouring of creative energy from our people, Yoruba Yard continued to be the platform or the stage or that conduit. A space was now provided for the exhibition of the people's work. Interestingly enough, one of these first exhibitions of Yoruba Yard held in the Queen's Park Art Gallery led to a permanent and a public exhibition of the first full-size statue in the likeness of any individual in a post-independent Barbados. We will come back to that interesting story of the unveiling at Haggett Hall, but strange enough,
even when we developed the gallery, for example, for artists in Queen's Park, the principle was, because I had been working with that young artist, they now had a platform that they can do, where we could print catalogs and stuff like this. Our first exhibition was with Carl Bruhagen, who had taught at Commonwealth School for donkey years, right? Born in Guyana, everything. The Guyanese refused to accept him even as a Guyanese. They wanted sculpture to Kafi, who was one of the black revolutionaries, and he made this little monument to send them what Kafi would look like. And I happened to go to his house in Strathclyde, and I saw this thing. I said, wait. He told me the story of Kafi. I said, Kafi, I can get this put up in Barbados now for you as Bussa. He said, but you always got enough mouth to talk. I said, you hear what I tell you? And I told Nigel Barr, who was then the minister, and Tom and things, that we need to put this thing to Bussa. It is, we cannot any longer push Nelson and all these different people and all that. And do you know that the government agreed to put up Bussa? I called his son, who was then living in Winnipeg, if we would meet him in London to do the final sculpture, and it came back and everything and all of that. And the government agreed that I wanted to put it up to replace Nelson, but they didn't feel bold enough to move Nelson at that time.
The workmen say they'll have the job completed by Thursday morning at the latest. They've plastered and placed marble over 2 sides of the statue's base, and the rest should be finished by Wednesday. The 2 sides which have been completed bear inscriptions about the upcoming unveiling and other information about the statue. Scores of carved soft stones have also been put down around the base and steps leading to the statue. Most of them are down now, but there are still quite a few to be laid and secured with cement. Along the pathways leading to the statue, they'll be planting rows of flowers, either hibiscus or crotons. The rest of the land around the statue will be planted with grass. Donna St. Hill, World Scene.
I started that at Yoruba. If you go back, take down Nelson and put up a Bajan man. Remember that by Gabby? Gabby was then living in the States and came back, right? And that was to move that, right? Because the question, you don't think your father should be, I said, I'm not getting involved with my father or anything else. That's not my decision. My decision deals with Bussa, because Bussa led the revolt. That wasn't the location but I was suggesting also for Bussa, Originally, my thing was bus was the other side of Trafalgar Square, right in the garden. If you look at the garden facing the inner careenage, it was supposed to go there, right? But when they themselves choose that location, I ain't getting no argument with them because the location was to get it up, right? So they decided to put it up in where it is now, right? But they called me in and told me not to attend the unveiling of it. I said, why? They said, because it would antagonize the white people and not the middle-class black people. I said, all right, fine. I have no problem with that. As long as you put it in the shop, it's good. And I parked my car up by Pine Hill Dairy. I had a sports car at the time. I turned up the radio, and I sat down on the bonnet with a pair of binoculars, and I watched the whole ceremony of unveiling of Bussa at that. And when everybody scattered, I got back in my car and drove down, parked in front Bussa, got out and tapped him on his feet and said, well done, sir, well done. Bam. And I done. And I didn't care because I got it up, right? Which is what, from the beginning, I was trying to get across, and part of the whole cultural expansion of it was the role that blacks played in developing the country. So that was just one.
And that presentation of the role continued throughout the country in the true Elombe style. Now, our music includes distinctive national styles of folk music that excites us to dance and evoke many special types of feelings and emotions, all bringing back special memories. During that thriving period of Yoruba Yard, music was center stage, so to speak. At that time, many Barbadians were developing a peculiar interest in music, especially folk music.
Where was the folk music of Barbados coming from? Right? Where was it coming from? Right? And I had bought, because it's big United States, because going to school at NYU and in New York, I used to attend a lot of shows at the Apollo and various things. So, and I started to say, you know what? There got to be somebody who producing this folk music. You understand? The music had existed because of previously Rudolph Hines, by the way, was a very close friend. We sang together in St. Mary's Choir, right? Plus, he was also his father, which a lot of people in Barbados don't know but need to acknowledge, was the man who formed police bands in St. Vincent, St. Lucia, Guadeloupe, all over the Eastern Caribbean, and Trinidad. And when he came to Trinidad, he found in Trinidad Keith Campbell as a young boy playing there, right? He got involved in establishing bands and so on. I don't remember his exact name, but he was one. So, but knowing Rudolph and singing in choir with Rudolph, I always used to refer to Rudolph for advice on anything that I wanted in terms of music, because I knew he was a musician, and I knew that I'm from close, you know. Bentley Callender was the organist at the thing, and Bentley used to teach me music also, right? So there was it was a closed group, so I was able to get information from Rudolph in a lot of areas. And his father, as I said, not only was a Barbadian, but almost in every single one of the islands in the Eastern Caribbean and Trinidad was a major influence. As a matter of fact, when the steel band first went to England, right, it was he who restructured the whole structure of steel band and to get different notes on the tuning pans so that they'll have full scales and everything else like this. But he was good about that. A lot of information I was able to get on how the direction of pan, for example. It is he who took the first steel band to England, and it was he who made them to retune it differently so as to have the full scales of the pans within the steel band movement. So it's very fascinating to do it, because we didn't pay it. He came back to Barbados then, I think, to be head of the Barbados police band or something else like this. That's about the time they brought in Raison, Captain Raison from England. So there was a little conflict there, and a conflict with Barrow, and that didn't materialize. It didn't last very long, and he went back to Trinidad after that, and so on.
Interestingly enough, Bentley Calendar's name is emblazoned throughout the Church of St. Mary in historic Bridgetown, for it was from that location where he was chief musician and choir master for over 40 years.
A number of people, well-known Barbadians at the time, and they were all interested in the music and did a lot of American folk songs, especially black folk songs and American music. And they used to perform a lot of this music all over the islands, especially the Methodist churches. Yes, the Methodist churches used to hold several harvest festivals, right? And I know from Bridgetown, it was James Street, even Bentley Calendar, right? He said he don't understand why Bentley came to St. Mary's, but he admitted that my father had influence on getting Bentley the job, right? But they didn't pay him as much money as the Methodist Church, James Street, paid him, or the one opposite the Empire Theatre, Bethel, paid him, or the one in Spice Town. But my mother was a Methodist, right? So because of that, a lot of times we went to events. So, but Bentley was there. Bentley's father went to the States, was also a musician, right? And as I said, he used to teach me music at one point.
A discussion of Bentley Calendar very often includes another musician whose name is emblazoned throughout another edifice on higher ground.
Hudson had come in to Barbados as a 23-year-old in 1922. And because Hudson came in, he was able to establish the cathedral choir as a very powerful choir. But he also did, the YMCA had a group of performers that he was also involved in. So all the people who could not be associated with the church was associated with Hudson at the YMCA and doing his performances and all of that, right? But Hudson had a very tremendous influence on female singers getting involved in a lot more of the church music and stuff like that, right? It's a fascinating story of the role of Hudson, but not just Hudson alone, but the influence, because all the church harvests would have all these different groups performing and so on. And Rudolph, as a matter of fact, was a quartet or a quintet that used to sing also performances. Although they sang in St. Mary's Choir and different choirs, they came together and would sing at all these different church harvests, whether it was Methodist or whether it was Anglican, all over the island and so on. By in the early 50s, the Globe Cinema had all these talent competitions, right? That was taking place, because that is also where Jackie Opel and all them fellas come to play and so on.
A discussion of local music and choirs of Barbados is incomplete without the inclusion of what was known as the service of song. Elombe speaks of this activity and calls attention to the word service in the title, and he emphasizes what the word suggests.
Service suggests something else that wasn't, because there was a lot of rum drinking that took place at services or so. And there were a lot of people who were not necessarily members of the Anglican Church or of that respectability, but they would come together and they would sing all these songs, different groups, but they're not formal groups like a choir and anything, but in the community they knew how to harmonize and various things. So they had this service of song that used to take place nearly every Sunday afternoon at some hall. And there was one at the corner of Deacon's Road. That's the one I used to know about. But they were all over the country. You had these different things. Enough rum drinking and singing and harmonizing, but all of them could sing. That is it, you know. Men who sang in the regular choirs would sing because, you know, there's a rum drinking opportunity and various other things.
The service of song eventually became very popular in Barbados, and that popularity was due largely in part to
Billy Graham came to Barbados and had big sort of sessions in Queen's Park, right, in Spartan Ground and all that. And as a result of that, they handed out a lot of music sheets of these songs. So Rudolph now, and all the guys reading music, start using them at the harvest of things. So they brought in the American versions of that music, other than the English versions, and so that a lot of harvests now started to have these groups, and that group that Rudolph was in, I think there were 4 or 5 of them. Would be performing at a harvest. And I think in some cases they were paid for the performances and so on. But now the difference now, which I curious, was the singings. Now, singing is a different type of thing now. Singing was always, the voices were diluted with a lot of Mount Gay and a lot of various other rums, right? So they would sing those, and then after a period of time, by midnight, now, they switched then to the music, regular, more popular music and stuff like this, and dance music and stuff like this. But the singing would be involving those particular songs, some hymns too, but the different type of harmonies and different types of emphasis and groups, you know. But it's a fascinating period to know that there were a lot of events like that on Sunday afternoons. And there was a place at the corner, as I said, the corner of Deacon's Road of Black Rock, there by where the gas station is now. It was a big, I can remember it, see it now, a big building where the sides of the house were shingles. You know, people only put shingles down on the top, but those houses, those things had a lot of shingles on the side and around the windows and things like this, and it could hold 300-400 people, and people would come in there, and of course rum drinking and so on. So there's nothing like listening to rum drinkers singing harmonies of hymns and various types of songs. You know, it is fantastic. But it was a period that has gone, and you don't see it again as much as it used to be, especially the 40s and 50s and 60s. After independence, it shifted, you know.
Gone, but certainly not forgotten. Many an interesting story has been told of life immediately after emancipation. It was unrelentingly hard and unvaried, static and routine. Only a few children escaped the confines of this plantation routine, finding innocent relief in the schools of the church and its beliefs. Into this life came the landship, with its uniform, its regalia, its ranks and its dance.
Well, landship again um, came about from everything that I can find as a means of pooling resources and saving money for different things, you know. And the costuming again was based on the ships and I think schooners and stuff used to come into Barbados and everything else like this. But it is unique to Barbados. This isn't something that copy from somebody. This is a Barbados institution. And it was a means of pooling resources and sharing those resources at various times of the year because people depended on the contribution to build houses and expand a house or whatever else it is. And that's another thing too that I find that we do not cover much understanding how some people can live in a one-roof chattel house with a shed roof, which is a kitchen or whatever it is, and the paling around the yard, because there'll be a pit toilet, and also on that paling, they grow every type of vine that can grow, to produce food. You understand? And as you improve in life, whatever it is, you put on wraparound veranda, you understand? Or you add another gable. So there's a whole set of culture of Barbados that we should be celebrating that we don't. You understand? I remember talking to Busy Williams. Cow had built a property in St. Lucie, right? He had built some beautiful stone bedroom apartments, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom apartments for tourists and for various people who want to do it. And according to what Busy told me, people keep asking him if they don't have any more houses like those out there. What were those he talking about? The house for the employees. That was a 3-gable chattel house with wraparound veranda around the front, you understand? And where people changed the clothes to whatever uniforms they had to wear and all that. But they wonder if you can have houses like that. And I find it I find it ridiculous because government owns Bath Plantation. And I keep asking why it is you can't take the plantation and develop arbitrarily, let's say, 10 villages. And each village is a little cluster of chattel houses that you can rent out to tourists who coming in there, right? To get to the beachside thing, you can go by donkey cart. A donkey cart comes up and you can get a ride, and you get your ride and go down to the hill. And when you're coming back home, a donkey cart will bring you back up the hill. In other words, indigenize what we have that is unique to us and make it something that is valuable and so on, right? Because why just keep it there and keep it landless and all? You can plant all little gardens and create just as it used to be after post-emancipation period, where they develop all of the chattel houses and, you know, the extensions, 3 gables, 2 gables with bedroom sections, you know, and then a shed roof at the back, which was the kitchen, you understand? So, but now we could be a toilet and bath or whatever it is, and the wraparound veranda at the front, you understand? And so why not? It is indigenous to us, and it is unique to Barbados. And I still believe that it could be done as part of our hotel experience rather than building the big stone. I mean, even when they stopped using wood and went to stay, they still produce the gable. I remember I grew up in one that was a wooden house, right? And my old man converted it to wall, as they say, right? Same design, same everything, but instead of wooden wall, it now became coiled stone walls, right? The same jealousy and same flaps, same everything, same inverted V with the windows to let the hot air escape and so on. These are things that are unique to Barbados that we do not celebrate. And I'm saying that this is important to us to celebrate. It doesn't mean that some people, if they want these fancy bungalows and everything else, want to do, but that is a distinctive, and to me, and Busy could not understand why they would want to live in a charter house and things like this. Not that I'm saying that he didn't. He understood in the sense that, but they, as developers, did not see the necessity of using that same charter house. If somebody asks you, can you get one of those houses to live in? And so, why wouldn't you build a whole pile of them and create a whole village, or plant mango trees, plant golden apple trees, plant soursop trees all around it? You understand that they can pick the same fruit and all that and sell it to somebody, because that is an experience that they're not going to find anywhere in North America or Northern Europe or any place. So that is, I find, is our biggest problem, is that we feel it's too local for somebody to want, but that's not the point. You know what it would be, a hotel, this is your hotel, they do it in the Far East, in the Pacific Ocean, yeah, right? With people come and staying so why we can't do it in our places? My argument is that if that is what it is, if we can do it and sell it, we take this jug, which an artist friend of Donna's painted these faces on, right? Look at it. We could do the same thing with the same jugs. This comes out of the sugar industry in the same way that Barbados did. These were jugs that brought in all things, and that liquor was filled up in these with liquor and sell to people. Look at that painting there, and the two women were using two holes. In other words, they're celebrating that there's a tradition of these people, these women who did that. There's nothing to be ashamed about. You with me? So I am saying that there are a lot of things. Listen, you think that barriers could exist and don't have donkey carts? Well, you could put a big umbrella or top of the donkey cart. Some people would pay to rent to hire a donkey cart, the same way they would hire a taxi. But it don't be the same experience. You understand? But the whole West Coast used to be able to, at Sandy Lane, pick up the phone and call me. If I say, baby, there in 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and you come down there with a donkey cart and take you up to the beach or to wherever it is that you want to go, or Sunset Crest or whatever it is, on a donkey cart. Why not? Right? We don't have enough faith in our own creativity.
Interesting. And that is exactly why Elombe started his movement. He had faith in the creativity of our people. May we have faith in our own creativity. This has been Elombe Speaks. I'm Sherwood McCaskey. The series continues next week at the same time.